I just kind of went inside and I didn't realize how bad it was. I feel like anytime anything happens, it's adrenaline or something. You don't really know.
Yeah.
The country music world is in shock this morning, and fans everywhere can't stop talking about Carrie Underwood, the voice that defined a generation. The woman whose songs carried strength, heartbreak, and redemption has just made headlines for a reason no one saw coming. For nearly 2 decades, Carrie Underwood has been country royalty, a powerhouse performer, a devoted mother, and one of the few artists who managed to stay grounded despite fame's overwhelming pressures. But behind the glitter, awards, and sold-out tours, Carrie has faced battles most never knew about, struggles with loss, pain, and the crushing expectations that come with perfection. And now, something has changed. Just moments ago, news broke that has left her millions of fans stunned, a moment that could redefine her life, career, and the legacy she's built. Those closest to her say the signs were there: the quiet social media posts, the emotional lyrics in her recent songs, the sudden cancellations, and the cryptic comments in recent interviews. Carrie has always been open about her faith and resilience, but this feels different. Whether it's a deeply personal revelation, a heartbreaking truth, or a decision that could change everything, fans are desperate for answers. One minute, she was the shining light of Nashville. The next, the internet was flooded with concern, rumors, and raw emotion. So what exactly happened to Carrie Underwood just now? What's the real story behind the headline that's breaking hearts and stirring the music world? Stay tuned, because what we've just learned might be the most emotional chapter of Carrie's story yet. Before the headlines, before the fame, before the stadium lights ever shone down on her, Carrie Underwood was just a small-town girl from Chakotah, Oklahoma, with a dream and a voice that could stop time. Her story began like a fairy tale. In 2005, she walked onto the American Idol stage. Nervous but determined, and with just a few notes of "Inside Your Heaven," the world knew it was witnessing something rare, a star being born. When she won American Idol that year, everything changed overnight. From that moment, Carrie was no longer just a farm girl. She was America's sweetheart. Her debut album, Some Hearts, exploded, producing hit after hit like Jesus, Take the Wheel, and Before He Cheats. Her powerful voice and wholesome image made her a favorite in both country and pop circles. The awards came pouring in: Grammys, CMAs, Billboard honors, and she became the Golden Girl of Nashville. But what the public didn't see was the cost. Fame moves fast, and Carrie's world became a whirlwind of tours, press appearances, and constant expectations. Every performance had to be perfect, every photo flawless, every word carefully chosen. The pressure to maintain that image, the angelic voice, the perfect marriage, the role model persona, began to weigh heavily on her shoulders. Carrie's friends and family would later say that even in her early years of stardom, she struggled with the fear of failure. Her drive to succeed was unmatched, but it often came at the expense of her peace. She never wanted to let anyone down, one insider recalled. Not her fans, not her family, not God. She carried that weight everywhere she went. As her fame grew, so did the scrutiny. Every move was analyzed, every decision debated. Even her personal life, her relationship with NHL star Mike Fisher, became tabloid material. Fans adored their picture-perfect marriage, but few realized how hard the couple worked to keep their private life protected from the chaos of fame. Carrie herself once admitted that being in the spotlight felt like living in a glass house. "People see what they want to see," she said in an interview. "They see the glamour, the success, but not the long nights, the doubt, the exhaustion. They don't see the real me." Still, she kept pushing forward, her determination as fierce as her faith. Behind the microphone, her songs told the truth, stories of heartbreak, redemption, and strength. Each lyric carried a piece of her soul. But as the years went on, fans started to notice subtle changes. Her lyrics grew more emotional, her interviews more guarded. Something was shifting, something deeper than anyone could yet understand. Carrie Underwood had reached the top of the mountain. but staying there was taking more from her than anyone realized. And soon that quiet internal battle would become impossible to hide. By the late 2010s, Carrie Underwood seemed unstoppable. Every song she released turned into a chart-topping hit, and every performance reminded the world why she was the reigning queen of country music. But then everything changed in an instant. One cold night in 2017, when tragedy struck right outside her own home. Carrie had been out walking her dogs near her Nashville property when she suddenly fell on the steps, suffering a devastating accident that shattered her wrist and caused severe injuries to her face. At the time, she told fans it was just a fall, but as the weeks went on, whispers began to spread. Fans noticed her long absence from public life, the lack of social media photos, and the emotional tone in her messages. Something was different, and Carrie knew the world would notice when she finally reappeared. Months later, when she returned to the public eye, the rumors erupted. People speculated endlessly about her face, her health, her confidence. Instead of sympathy, she faced an avalanche of cruel comments and online gossip. It wasn't just physical pain she was dealing with, it was emotional devastation. "I honestly don't know how things are going to end up," she said in a rare interview. "It was a hard time, and I just needed to heal, inside and out." Behind the scenes, those close to Carrie said the fall had taken more from her than anyone realized. It wasn't just the injury, it was the loss of her sense of security, the constant public attention, and the fear that she might never feel normal again. For a performer whose image was built on strength and confidence, suddenly feeling fragile was terrifying. But the accident wasn't the only struggle she was facing. Around the same time, Carrie opened up about suffering multiple miscarriages in the years that followed. It was a heartbreak she had kept private, one she and her husband Mike Fisher endured quietly while the world saw only the smiles and the stage lights. "I had always been strong," she later said, "but I got to a point where I just broke." Through it all, Carrie leaned on her faith. She admitted that she cried, prayed, and questioned why these things were happening to her. Yet she also found a strange kind of strength in that darkness. "For the first time," she confessed, "I stopped trying to be perfect. I just let myself be real." When she finally stepped back into the spotlight at the 2018 ACM Awards, fans saw not just a superstar, but a survivor. Her performance of Cry Pretty was more than just a song. It was a message. Through tears and trembling emotion, she poured years of pain, fear, and healing into one haunting performance. The audience rose to its feet, many in tears. It wasn't the flawless Carrie they once knew. It was the human one. Still, the scars of that time never fully disappeared. Fame had taken its toll, and the fall had become a metaphor for everything she'd endured. The pressure, the pain, and the impossible expectations of being perfect. But Carrie Underwood wasn't finished, not by a long shot. What came next would redefine not only her career, but the kind of woman she wanted to be. When the world saw Carrie Underwood return to the stage after her accident, it wasn't just a comeback. It was a rebirth. The woman who once stood at the top of the country music world had faced heartbreak, pain, and unimaginable pressure, yet somehow she emerged stronger, more grounded, and more human than ever before. Her 2018 album, Cry Pretty, became the soundtrack to her healing. Every song was soaked in emotion, vulnerability wrapped in melody. It wasn't the flawless perfection fans once expected from her. It was raw honesty. From Love Wins to Low, each lyric was a confession of everything she'd endured. For the first time in her career, Carrie was no longer singing as a star trying to maintain an image. She was singing as a woman who had learned how to survive. Her fans noticed the difference immediately. This was a Carrie who had stopped hiding behind the spotlight. She began opening up more about her struggles with motherhood, aging, and the harsh realities of being a woman in the music industry. She spoke about balancing fame with faith, about sleepless nights raising her sons Isaiah and Jacob, and about how her scars, both seen and unseen, had become part of her story. And while many stars might have crumbled under the pressure, Carrie turned her pain into power. She launched new tours, performed on the biggest stages in the world, and even ventured into new territory, from fitness and fashion to writing her own book. Find your path. It wasn't just about music anymore. Carrie was building something bigger, a message of resilience. Those closest to her say the Carrie that returned after 2017 wasn't the same woman who had once chased perfection. She was more centered, more spiritual, and more at peace. She realized she didn't need to be perfect to be powerful, one longtime friend said. Her strength came from her scars. On stage, she embraced her journey, often sharing stories about her falls, both literal and emotional, with humor and humility. Fans who once saw her as untouchable now saw her as relatable. The country music queen had become a symbol of perseverance. But Carrie didn't just reclaim her place in country music, she expanded it. Her Vegas residency, Reflection, became a celebration of her evolution, blending her biggest hits with heartfelt tributes to her journey. Every performance was a reminder that she was still here, still standing, and still breaking barriers. Even as the years passed, Carrie continued to surprise her audience. Her collaborations with rock icons, gospel projects, and deeply personal performances showed just how fearless she had become. While fame once defined her, she had now defined herself as an artist, a wife, a mother, and a survivor. Her comeback wasn't about proving she was still the best. It was about showing that even when life knocks you down, you can rise higher than before. Carrie's story became a reflection of everything she sang about: heartbreak, faith, and redemption. And just when the world thought she'd said it all, Carrie continued to evolve, leaving fans wondering what new chapter she would write next. Because one thing was clear: the woman who once fell had learned how to soar. As Carrie Underwood stands today, she's more than just a country music superstar. She's a living symbol of resilience, grace, and authenticity. Her journey from a small-town girl in Oklahoma to one of the most powerful voices in modern music has been filled with triumphs, heartbreaks, and lessons that reach far beyond the stage. For many fans, Carrie's story isn't just about fame or awards. It's about faith and perseverance. Through her music, she's shared a message that resonates deeply with people who've faced their own struggles. Songs like Jesus, Take the Wheel, and Something in the Water weren't just hits. They were declarations of belief in something bigger than ourselves. They reminded fans that no matter how broken you feel, there's always a reason to keep going. But perhaps what makes Carrie's legacy truly remarkable is how she's handled life in the spotlight with humility and heart. Despite decades of fame, she's never lost touch with who she really is. She still speaks about her faith openly, still prioritizes her family, and still carries that small-town warmth that made her America's sweetheart from the very beginning. After years of pressure to fit into Hollywood's image, Carrie learned that being herself was her greatest strength. She doesn't chase trends or controversy. She builds her legacy quietly through authenticity. In interviews, she often credits her husband, former NHL player Mike Fisher, and their 2 sons for keeping her grounded. "They're my real life," she once said. "Everything else is just the noise around it." Behind the glitter and fame, Carrie has always stayed true to her roots. Whether she's performing in front of thousands or spending a quiet day on her Tennessee farm, she carries the same message, that strength comes from humility and beauty from endurance. Her influence has also stretched beyond music. Carrie's fitness brand, book, and charity work all reflect the same message of empowerment. She encourages women to embrace strength, both physically and emotionally, and to find balance in a world that often demands too much. Her honesty about the challenges of motherhood and self-image has made her an inspiration for millions. And while many artists fade as the years go by, Carrie's voice, both literally and symbolically, remains as powerful as ever. She's evolved gracefully, never clinging to the past but always honoring it. Every song she releases feels like another chapter in a story that fans have grown up with, a story of faith, loss, love, and rebirth. Industry insiders often say that Carrie Underwood represents what country music used to be, and what it still strives to become. She bridges tradition and modernity, strength and vulnerability. Her performances are as much about storytelling as they are about sound. a connection between artist and audience that few can replicate. Today, as headlines swirl with speculation and stories about her next big move, one thing remains certain. Carrie Underwood's legacy is already written in gold. Whether she's on stage under the lights or off the grid living quietly with her family, she's earned something far greater than fame. She's earned respect. Her journey reminds us that life's hardest falls often lead to the most powerful rises. Carrie's story is proof that you can lose, rebuild, and shine brighter than ever. She has become more than a singer. She's a reminder of what it means to be human in an industry built on perfection. As she continues to write new music and explore new horizons, fans around the world know one thing: Carrie Underwood's story is far from over. Because legends don't fade, they evolve. And Carrie, through every challenge and triumph, has proven she's not just a star. She's a light that refuses to dim.